Hi, my name is Greg Harbo, and I am doing a coaching presentation on coaching diverse athletes. I've coached football for now, going into my eighth year, second year here at Western Michigan, and I've coached at a couple different levels, and I've been around a number of different diverse athletes. Um, but I'm going to highlight one of coaching idols of mine, Coach Mike Krzyzewski, head basketball coach at Duke. Talk a little about how he has coached over the years, as well as cultural changes, and then I will highlight coaching with disabilities. Talk a little bit about my experiences, as well as highlight one certain athlete.
Mike Krzyzewski, four-time national champion.
Time I've coached for 4 decades, how you teach changes because the people you teach are different. They come from our culture and our society continues to change. How we dress, what music we listen to, the different standards, technology. And so you as a teacher have to keep coming up with different ways of approaching the people you have the privilege to teach. But the things that are consistent are the values. How do you teach trust, loyalty, honesty, care, collective responsibility, all these different things. You do it in a different way.
Great start to the second half. Another timeout. Mike Krzyzewski out at midcourt giving Mason Plumlee a hug.
I've been fortunate that a number of the players that I've coached end up being assistant coaches for me. And they help me because they're younger, so they help me learn about the newer culture. And then they've gone forward to be head coaches. And so as a leader, you're constantly looking at who you have to teach. New York Life, keep good going.
One of the things that I picked up from that video was Coach K talking about how you teach. A number of things about how you deal with different cultures is the way you explain things, and that leads in to one of my points later. But culture and society continues to change. He highlighted in that piece that I think is big is hiring young coaches. Young coaches will be able to keep you in the loop. From a cultural standpoint, I think a big thing is music, which he talked about. And then next thing, different ways to teach different people. Every person's different, especially when you're dealing with discipline and dealing with different cultural things. I think everybody is different. But one of the big things that I did learn from that, and what I've learned over the years, are that things stay the same throughout generations. Are the values that people have. If you continue to teach the values, continue to praise high character, moral decisions, it will go a long way. And then the final thing that I'll touch on from him, winning the national titles from 91 to 92 to into the 2000s, is the one and done rule has changed a lot of college basketball. And I think that has to do a lot with cultural things as well. Players want to play in the NBA as soon as possible, and their decision is to get to the NBA, like I said, as quickly as possible. And some of that is due to financial reasons, but he has adapted the way he has recruited and coached certain athletes, because not all athletes are willing to stay for all 4 years. Some athletes are ready to go after just one. So he's had to adapt and deal with different cultural backgrounds from that standpoint. Culture, as defined in the book, is the term we use to describe those social forces that shape our thoughts, ideas, and ways of interacting with the world. As coaches, we often speculate about an athlete's talent, wondering how much of it is inherited and how much of it is acquired. This started to make me think about some of my experiences in recruiting. And then I was doing some research in the book Beyond Basketball, Coach K's Keywords for Success. He talked about it, and recruiting is a key aspect of growing a culture. When my staff and I decide which kids to recruit, we don't merely look at the youngsters' athletic ability, statistics, and grades. We look at how they treat their parents, how they interact with their classmates, and what other ways they contribute to their communities. One of my favorite things is when we go for a home visit and the player has his best friend with him, a friend who may not even play basketball. This shows that at a young age he understands that it's not all about him, and he is willing to share his life with those close to him, an indication that he is willing to look beyond himself and become part of something greater. That is a big thing that you look into as far as culture, as well as what is the person off the court? How can you incorporate that into your team and every person amongst your team? That's the coolest thing about a team is it's a number of different personalities, people coming from different family backgrounds that all come together for one common goal, and that's what I love about coaching diverse athletes from a cultural standpoint. Culture includes tangible things, way we dress, eat, decorative and ritual objects we create, sports we play, obviously tangible objects, tangible things are things you can touch. Intangible things, our attitudes, values, norms of behavior, learning styles, and social roles, all things that Coach K touched on as far as things he incorporates into his program. And with coaching diverse athletes, you have to take every single one of these things into account with the way you coach diverse athletes. You have to look at their different tangible things and intangible things. I think a critical key to one's success. Coaching athletes with disabilities. The video you just saw was one of which Oscar Pistorius, who set the world record at the London Olympics and the 200 meter, an astonishing feat that he was able to accomplish. With a disability, he's known as the Blade Runner. He has 2 prosthetic legs, which is an unbelievable feat. But going into a little bit of the details about coaching with disabilities, are athletes with disabilities, are people who are unable to participate in most sports without some accommodation in the form of special equipment or training or rule modifications. The American Disabilities with Disabilities Act help these athletes out. It requires organizations that offer sport programs regardless of whether they are federally funded, provide comparable opportunities to people with disabilities. That is, the thing I think with disabilities. And Ampy Lou, who was his track coach when he was training him, said he was not only the best athlete that he had with the disability, but then also the best athlete he's ever coached. So that says a lot, and he had to modify coaching with different methods and things like that because he had the disability. But for the most part, he stayed to the same formula and it was successful for him. The next topic I'm going to discuss is gender differences. Gender differences in the book refers to socially determined factors that define masculinity and femininity. Sex differences, on the other hand, are biologically determined. Two coaches that have done it at the highest level, that have coached the opposite sex, are Gino Auriemma and Becky Hammon. Becky Hammon was a WNBA head basketball coach. Ended up taking a job with the San Antonio Spurs, which is in the NBA, coaching men. Actually coached the summer league team to the summer league championship. And Gino Auriemma has been a men's coach only once, and then took a women's assistant job at the University of Virginia. A few years later, got the head coach at UConn when they were nothing, built it into a powerhouse. Gino Auriemma has been quoted saying he's treated women, when he's coaching women, the same way as if he's coaching men. He coaches them to be successful on and off the court. There is not much difference between. Obviously, the athletic ability is a little bit different, but it's all relative in that you just coach them to be the best that they possibly can be. He's proven that by the way he's done it over the years. Another interesting fact that I think is growing opposite sex coaching in women's sports and as well as men's sports, with the inclusion of the woman intern coach with the Arizona Cardinals, but then also in this past women's Final Four, all Final Four participants were male coaches, male head coaches, which I think is a big step in showing that it can be done from the opposite sex at any level. My questions to the class are two questions that are relating to the cultural part of my chapter, as well as the gender differences section. First question is, would you agree that one of the biggest downfalls of coaches is that they cannot relate to athletes of diverse cultures and backgrounds? And then my second question regarding gender is, why is it that it is so hard to cross over that gender barrier and coach the opposite sex? Very interesting topic. I think coaching diverse athletes is something that can help you out in your career, as well as you can learn a lot from different backgrounds and cultures. Hope everyone enjoyed. Have a great day.